All right, everyone, welcome back into another live edition of the Patriots Beat podcast here on the CLNS Media Network, presented by our wonderful friends over at Prize Picks and Game Time. It's Brian Hines back as always with Alex Barth because we have a football game to talk about. Finally, it's been a week since the Patriots last played and got beat up pretty badly by the Jets there on Thursday night, and the page is officially turned to the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday, a 4:05 start. With those 4:05 starts, they always sneak up on you a little bit, especially if you're like knee deep in red zone and the witching hours in full force. Those 4:05 starts can sneak up on you. So everyone knows 4:05 kickoff. But before we get to the usual players and what we're looking for, I want to ask you about the coaching staff, because we talked about them on Monday on our crossover, kind of how they look throughout the first 3 weeks. This is a big test because you got your doors blown off on Thursday Night Football. Now you're going cross country against a Super Bowl contender. I know they're kind of beat up, but you're huge underdogs on the road. What do you want to see out of this coaching staff, just kind of as a whole, to turn the page? And, even if it's not a win, again, like big underdogs, what do you just want to see out of Gerard Mayo and this coaching staff that would make you feel confident moving forward with them?
Well, first and foremost, just better effort. The team's got to come out looking ready to go, looking inspired. And that's a low bar to clear, but it's one they didn't clear last week. So you got to see the team come out with more effort. I would say offensively, how do they scheme around the offensive line? This could be a really rough week. Alex Van Pelt called this for Jacoby Brissett a get the ball out of your hand kind of week, right? Some of that quick hitting passing stuff. They've said a lot of things I've liked game plan wise that didn't end up showing up in the game. So this is one where it's like, all right, I believe in the concept. Let's see it. And then on defense, is the tackling better? And how do they replace the loss of Juwan Bentley? Because they didn't get that done last week. They looked like it. And they're Bentley, you're going to feel Bentley's lost no matter what, but it shouldn't be as bad as it was last week. And it was. So those will be the key things I'm focused on.
Yep. Yeah, I want to talk about, replacing Bentley. Well, we can get on that when we do the defense. But let's start on the offense, because it is the offensive line. Excuse me. That's what we're looking at, because, it's Jacoby Brissett this week. So we'll have the Drake May conversation, of course, probably on Monday or Tuesday when we recap it. But the offensive line, it's banged up. As Pat Stats says here, we get in some Trey Jacobs at left tackle this Sunday. Kind of looks like it, because Vidarian Lowe hasn't practiced both days with a knee injury. Caden Wallace also has a knee injury. He suffered late in the Thursday game. He's been out there, but he's been limited. So it looks like Trey Jacobs, which is a waiver claim, a guy they got like right around the roster cut down day. They used one of those third waiver claims on him. So he's been here about a month now, but this is your fourth starting left tackle in 4 games, and it's a waiver claim just in general. So not a great situation, but you mentioned, and Nick Bosa's on the other side, who, Van Pelt called today nightmare. He's a nightmarish. So, one of the top pass rushers in the league. So you mentioned how he can maybe scheme some of this up to help the offensive line. What do you want to see just in general from, it looks like it's Trey Jacobs. So how do you think they can help the offensive line, and Van Pelt can do that?
Well, so it's going to be Trey Jacobs to start. It looks like. I wouldn't be surprised. And Tayler brought this up at practice today, that like we saw in week 1, they started Chuks Okorafor because Vidarian Lowe was hurt. That obviously wasn't working. So they ended up going back to Lowe, who was injured. And if maybe we see the same thing this week with Lower Caden Wallace, but that quick hitting passing stuff, like we talked about off the top, this should be another big week for Pop Douglas, who I talked to today. Sounded very excited by the, potential opportunities he's going to have in this game. Yeah, something like that. And then run the ball and actually establish play action. Don't say, all right, we're going to run play action and then just kind of run into nothing. This team got, run on to all hell up the middle last week. Establish that run between the tackles, gap, duo, however you want to set it up, but attack them up the middle, upset the timing of the pass rush, and then hit play action, all that. So off of that. So those are a couple things I think they can do, but it should be a big game for Pop Douglas. It should be a bounce back game for Mondre Stevenson. Those are 2 guys you're going to have to lean on, I think, significantly this week to move the ball against this Niners team.
Yeah. You mentioned like the Rams, that's how they kind of ran it last week. They went downhill and they attacked them, and they had some success doing that. And even, Van Pelt played San Francisco last year with Cleveland, and I think it was PJ Walker was his quarterback that game, in the Browns carousel of
Sounds
quarterback
right.
down the stretch. And that was like they kind of ditched, they started with some of that, outside zone and stuff on the edges. And then, once the Niners respected that, then they kind of countered and went downhill. So it plays into their personnel, Patriots best to kind of go downhill. And the Niners have been vulnerable. They just lost Hargrave too, one of their interior defenders. So that seems like a good way to start. Don't start with the play action like you did on Thursday, which Van Pelt kind of said, he regrets in hindsight. Like, start with the run game, get downhill if you can. That seems like a good way to attack them. And then, like Pop Douglas, Tutu Atwell for the Rams last week had a really big game, and that's kind of that similar mold, shorter, quicker receiver. You can beat them, over the middle of the field. So maybe we get some more Pop Douglas kind of involved at that point.
Yeah, exactly. I do think the Patriots can maybe start to copy a little bit what the Rams did. They obviously don't have the perfect personnel for it, but the Rams are another team they didn't have a lot of their top receivers. They were banged up. Their offensive line is as banged up as the Patriots, so they're lacking there, and they were obviously still able to move the ball now. They do have Matthew Stafford, which is going to make a difference, but there are some concept things in there I think the Patriots can work with.
Yeah, Stafford, he's not on this roster, and McVay too, right? Like he's a top 3 coach, top 3 play caller in football. So that's like, let's see something from Alex Van Pelt here. Like let's see something good. And even back to the offensive line, like how he can help them. We shouldn't have any Nick Bosa one-on-one with either Caden Wallace or DeMontre Jacobs, right? Like, let's slide protections, let's chip with tight ends, let's do whatever to kind of slow him down, because that's the one point on this Niners defensive line, especially that they lost Hargrave to that, what was it, tricep biceps injury. He's out for the year. So yeah, that's like, you got to just slow down Nick Bosa. And if you leave DeMontre Jacobs or Caden Wallace, a banged up Caden Wallace one-on-one with him, you're kind of asking for trouble there. So let's get them some help, and that comes back to Van Pelt and kind of scheming this thing up.
Yeah.
I see some Caleb Jones comments as always.
Yeah, we got a call about this on Catch 22 also.
Okay. Do you think, I mean, he traveled with the team last week. He's on the practice squad. He's the big 6'9", 375-pound tackle they claimed a few weeks ago. Do you think he could be called up and maybe factor into this equation? Probably depends on Caden Wallace's status, but are you expecting, I know he's a popular name, and so are you just expecting anything out of Caleb Jones here on this offensive line?
Not this week. Not this week. I think they're going to give DeMontre Jacobs a shot. And the reality is that Caleb Jones is a big guy. He doesn't move well. Bosa's just going to run right around him. Like, Bosa's not going to overpower him, obviously, but Bosa's going to run right around him. They actually might have played in the Big Ten. I can check that, but because actually, when was Caleb Jones in college? Did they overlap? Because Caleb Jones did Indiana from 17 to 21. So yeah, they must have been.
What year? Bosa was
there
18, 19.
Yeah, so 17 and 18 they could have overlapped. Hang on, let's do the thing. Let's see, because now I'm curious. 17 and 18, we need Ohio State versus Indiana, right? Caleb Jones, I think, he was at Indiana his whole career.
Yeah.
I don't know why I just tried to sort this by like every college in the country. Hang on. Indiana in 2018 did play Ohio State in week 6.
Bosa wasn't healthy for that, right?
Was or wasn't?
I don't think. I have just his Ohio State. I forgot, like, his last year, he only played 3 games. Was he hurt? I mean, he must have been hurt.
Well, Caleb Jones didn't play in that game, so that doesn't matter.
Okay.
2017 for Indiana. Hang on.
17 Bosa played
great radio
all 14
here.
games. I know, right? This
all
is
right.
So
then the question is, did Caleb Jones probably didn't play because he didn't play as a sophomore. I'm going to guess he didn't play as a true freshman. So all that to basically realize they probably didn't play each other.
They were probably never on the field together at the same time.
They didn't even play Ohio State. Oh no, they played Ohio State in the opener. And Caleb Jones in what would have been his very first career college game
Gets Nick Bosa, but he didn't play.
They had their left tackle, Indiana's, was a guy named Coy Cronk. What a name.
What's that guy doing nowadays? Coy Cronk?
Coy Cronk. He was signed by the Packers as a UDFA. So you do have the Packer way link.
Is he available?
He last was on the Vikings practice squad in late 2023. He signed a futures deal after that season and then was released with a non-football injury designation in April of 2024. So there you go.
He's our next practice squad addition.
Coy Cronk.
Oh, he played 4 years at Iowa too.
This is now a Coy Cronk podcast.
We're all in on Coy Cronk.
All in on Coy Cronk. Love me some Coy Cronk.
He's the savior. But yeah, so are you just back to, Caleb Jones? Are you expecting anything out of him? Maybe not this week or maybe this week or anything going forward?
Sorry, I'm just looking at old Coy Cronk tweets.
Coy Cronk pictures. Oh, tweets.
I just searched Coy Cronk on Twitter. The thing. You ever watch? I Think You Should Leave.
Yeah.
Coy Cronk from the Colgate Comedy Hour. Sorry, would you ask me?
Oh, now I'm on Coy.
All I can think about now is Coy Cronk. Right. We might have to end the show on Coy Cronk.
On Coy Cronk. We'll bring him back up.
We need to get Coy Cronk. Next time we do a crossover, we should just bring him up and just
watch Mike and Tayler.
When Mike and Tayler have no idea who he is.
We'll just be like, you want to know who they need to fix their left tackle problems? Coy Cronk. Like
next time we do a crossover, somebody in the chat, please, when we open up the Q&A, ask about Coy Cronk.
Be like, should they bring in Coy Cronk for at least?
Why haven't they brought in Coy Cronk?
Yeah, that's good. So someone do that, or we'll be disappointed in you. Coy Cronk, remember that? Oh, he might have just had. Oh, he tore his pec in April.
Okay, so we can still bring him up on the show.
Yeah, we'll still bring him up. I was just on his Instagram now. He tore his pec in April.
That sucks.
All right, there's your 2 minutes on Coy Cronk. Maybe. Yeah, Will Campbell, who? Give me Coy Cronk in the chat right there. That's perfect. But yeah, just Caleb Jones. Like, any expectations for him going forward?
So I think eventually, like they clearly like him. And the fact that he's traveling, they want him to see the game day operation, all that. I do think he's a guy that they're high on, relatively speaking. Maybe they like him as a developmental player. But again, Demontre Jacobs makes more sense this week. And I think it's a week-to-week thing. Maybe there's one matchup where they're like, we just need a mauler, and he's the guy they go to. But the thing with the guy like Caleb Jones, right? He's so big. Man, don't you think if he could play, somebody would have figured him out? Like, he wouldn't be out here at this point. He's like those relief pitchers that throw 105 and can't control it, but there's always teams that'll sign him because like we can figure something out with them. I think that's just kind of right. I think that's who Caleb Jones is. Now there's a place on an NFL roster for that guy, and maybe he becomes a backup, but I don't think he's going to like fix their left tackle issues long term or anything.
Is he the Joe Milton of left tackles?
A little bit. I went through that phase after the draft where I couldn't help it. I just started saying everybody was the Joe Milton of everything.
The Joe Milton of everything.
Like, because the Bruins drafted some guy that was big, and I was like, oh, look, Joe Milton. And then the Celtics drafted a guy that was big. Right, so.
All right. So, yeah, I'm with you on Caleb Jones there. But, yeah, offensive line, like, it's not going to get better until it gets healthy. And I think we're still at the same page where your best five is probably Vidarian Lowe, healthy at left tackle, City So, who has been limited all week, so it looks like he might be good to go. That ankle injury seemed to respond well from increased action and getting back out there on practice fields, which is a good sign. Either him or Layden Robinson at left guard, David Andrews at center, kick Mike and Unwinu back inside the right guard, and then Caden Wallace, a healthy Caden Wallace, can be at right tackle. But unfortunately, just with the injuries right now, they can't literally get there because, you can't kick Big Mike inside because you don't have enough tackles. So that's just kind of where they're at now. So let's, scheme up something from Alex Van Pelt and Co to help limit that pass rush and try to take that league high pressure rate down a little bit. But so you want to see something from them. Jacoby Brissett, what do you want to see from him? Assuming he's not on his back every drop back, but what would you like to see from Jacoby against the 49ers here on Sunday?
Definitely getting the ball out quicker. Obviously, not surprising. That's something that's been talked about with him a lot. And I think just more command at the line of scrimmage. I think there's times where they're just running plays into bad looks. And I don't know if that's a hesitancy to check out, an inability to check out, whatever you want to call it, but maybe doing a little more at the line of scrimmage to try to mitigate some of the schemed pressures they're getting run on them.
Yeah, because you'd imagine after the success the Jets had of just playing man coverage and blitzing, like you imagine teams are going to do that in San Francisco, like similar defensive style, even though it's a little different. Under Mr. Brandon Staley and their new defensive coordinator, Sorensen.
It's not important. We can blame Brandon Staley. That's a very
we can put the blame on
conclusion.
We'll put the blame on Staley. That's probably an easy dot to connect there. So a little different, but you assume the game plan might be kind of the same of just blitz the hell out of them until they can attack it. So yeah, get the ball out quickly. I still come back with Jacoby, like the trust with just his pass catchers. If he just is that reluctant to like throw the ball in a tight window, that could be an interception, but there's just plays he's leaving out there at times, just because the lack of anticipation, or he needs to see someone open before he throws it. So just get the ball. That comes back to getting the ball out quick. But whether it's either in the quick game or some of that more intermediate stuff, there's plays to be made, and you'd like to see him connect on some of those. And then just hit the bunnies when they present themselves, right? Like that play to Austin Hooper Thursday night. Like you got to hit those, because you can't miss those, especially against a team like San Francisco. You got to hit those. So that's what you like to see from Jacoby. I will say, if it doesn't look good, are we like really ramping up the Drake May talks next week, do you think?
I mean, I've said this and I'll keep saying it. Once the line's healthy, I'm good to go. And that goes both ways. That means that once the line's healthy, I'm ready to have the conversation. It also means I'm not having the conversation until the line's healthy. Until you can put an actual left tackle, an actual right tackle at right tackle, I don't think you should put him in. So for me, I'll have the conversation next week if I know Vidarian Lowe and Caden Wallace are playing. I'll have the conversation. If not, I'm not going to have it. But to me, what Jacoby Brissett is doing at this point is almost irrelevant. It's just about them getting that line. Like, it's clear.
It irrelevant to Gerard Mayo?
I think Gerard Mayo wants Drake May to play.
That's what I like. Because if Jacoby's not, I agree. Like it shouldn't really impact Drake to a T. But if Gerard Mayo is looking at this, and he said a lot going back to the summer that makes it seem like he wants Drake to play. Even this week, he said he's playing really well in the practice fields. That's a guy you want on the field on Sundays, paraphrasing there. But he basically said he wants him out there. Like, if Jacoby's not playing well enough, like, is that something where, it might not matter to you? Like, you want the offensive line shored up, but Gerard Mayo is looking at this and say, enough of this. I want the best player out there. I'm putting Drake May in.
So the problem is, I wonder how much it's up to Gerard Mayo, and between him and Alex Van Pelt. You hired Alex Van Pelt to be the head coach of the offense. You hired him, Ben McAdoo, TC McCartney. These guys are your quarterback experts. And there is, I hate doing the interpersonal political part of this. Like, I just want to talk about X's and O's, but it does sort of become relevant here because Gerard Mayo has to walk this fine line between it's his team and what he says goes. And if you march down the hall, put your foot down and say, we're starting the quarterback I want to start, what does that mean for Alex Van Pelt moving forwards? What does that tell future coaches they may want to hire? Because all these guys talk. What does that tell guys in the locker room, right? If your positional coach is telling you to do one thing, do you think maybe Gerard Mayo wants it done another way? Who are you siding with? Just look at what happened last year, and you had a massive disconnect between the head coach and the offensive coordinator with Bill Belichick and Bill O'Brien. Now, that doesn't mean Mayo would necessarily be wrong in putting his foot down and making that call, but I also think he understands and there has to be some of this. I would think he would understand. I don't know his thoughts on it, but I would think he would understand that if he pushes for the quarterback too early and it doesn't go well, he's done. I mean, he's done. That's it. If they wait it out, no matter what happens, even if May's bad, Mayo goes, well, Van Pelt told me he was ready. All right, I'm the defensive coach. Like you hired that guy for the quarterbacks, and that's just kind of life in the NFL, right? It doesn't reflect as much on him. So what I think really needs to happen, what's ultimately going to swing this even more than the offensive line, what does the locker room want? What do the players in the room want? Because what would allow Mayo to make the change before Van Pelt's maybe ready? Look, Van Pelt comes from that Green Bay background. He's going to take the long road. That doesn't necessarily mean a full year or even maybe to December, but like Van Pelt's going to wait longer rather than not. But if Gerard knows that the guys in the room want Drake May, it changes the dynamic of it. Because now I'm doing this for the team. This is what the football team needs. I can't lose the locker room. We need to make this move, and he kind of can talk Alex Van Pelt into it. So, I mean, the coaches sound very impressed based on what we heard today. If that belief is reflected in the locker room, I would think you see the change sooner rather than later. But we'll see. This is all going to happen behind the scenes. So it's just going to be us speculating until we get a move. I think we talked, what show did we talk? There's breadcrumbs. I forget if I said it on this show or not. Like where you had Gerard Mayo saying you want a guy like this on the field, and it was my choice to play him. And you have Van Pelt saying, oh, he's just starting to get better. I think he'll learn more by watching. Like the breadcrumbs are there, but there's going to be things that have to happen behind the scenes that we don't know about before a change gets made.
Yep. Even like right after the game, the Thursday night game, Gerard is non-committal about a quarterback, right? He's like, I don't know who's going to be the guy. And then like all of a sudden 5 hours later, he's like, oh, it's Jacoby. Seems like just speculating here. We don't know, but it seems like, Gerard could be leaning Drake, and then he goes to kind of Van Pelt and he's like, come on, like, let's just relax here. Like, let's keep going with Jacoby. That's like what it seems like based off what they're telling us to our faces. So, but yeah, the locker room will be the big push there because they know what guy gives them the best chance to win. And you can't like keep running out the other guy in that scenario. And again, based off all the reports and what the coaches are saying, it does sound like Drake is really impressive on the practice field. So that could be a deciding factor in that as well. But we'll see. Jacoby will start Sunday. Excuse me. So he'll have a chance to kind of stage that off for another week. But let's move on. And before we do that, I got to talk to you guys about Prize Picks, which is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members and the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Because unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. One Caleb Williams passing yard gets you one win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. So this is your last chance. Last football weekend of September, so don't miss this deal on Prize Picks. And there's nothing worse than someone you pick going down with an injury. So Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy so that your lineups stay in play. Even if one of your players gets injured, if your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, your Prize Picks lineup is still live. And there's plenty of Patriots player projections and lineups you can create for this weekend. We'll give you our best picks at the end of the show, and you can even get involved in the action tonight with the Cowboys and Giants. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play just $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed on Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, just wrapping up with the rest of the offense. Anything else you're specifically looking at player-wise, scheme-wise? Just anything else that has your eye on Sunday?
I think we got to most of it.
Offensive line, quarterbacks. That's how it goes nowadays.
I guess we didn't talk about the Ramondre fumbles. I guess would be the one thing, right? Just don't fumble, Ramondre. It's 3 in 3 weeks.
Hold on to the ball.
Hold on to that football. Right. there's not much to editorialize there. They can't afford a giveaway in this game.
Yep. Yeah, and you mentioned Pop. He should have a good game. Hunter Henry was missed practice earlier. He's back. He could be someone involved as well. Someone I was trying to find it in the chat. Someone mentioned Austin Hooper too has been pretty impressive. He hasn't got the ball a lot, but there's been plays there for him to make. So yeah, someone said
He's been open a little bit.
Yeah, liked what they've seen from Austin Hooper. So maybe get those tight ends involved too, in this quick game. So we'll see there. Also, not a San Fran thing, but David said this is offense. We can end offense here. Do you think they will wait? I don't know what he's saying on wait till, or maybe till Drake May. Wait till
I think
Bourne gets
Drake
back
May.
to play Drake May.
I don't know if that is a driving factor, but I think that's going to end up happening, whether it's on purpose or not. I think that's going to end up happening.
Yeah. Yeah, he looks close. He released that video on Instagram of him working out. So he's the best receiver. We'll see how he looks like from a speed explosion standpoint after the ACL tear, but he certainly can't hurt the wide receiver room, and you'd figure he'd have a good role and can help any quarterback that's in there. So that'll be a welcome addition when he's ready to go. He can start practicing next week. Same with Salem Taki, who we can talk about in a bit too. But we'll go to that defense. They got a tackle this week. That's big. Stopping this Shanahan offense, it always starts in the run game, right? Like they want to run the ball a lot, the wide zones, the stretches. Anthony Jennings being upgraded to limited was big today. He's one of your best run defenders along the edge there. But beyond just the easy tackling, how are you kind of going about trying to stop this run game that Shanahan has?
Well, I think the big thing is you're probably going to have less to worry about, right? So McCaffrey's out. We'll see what happens with Debo and Trent Williams. They're trending in the right direction. Kittle's banged up. They should be able to allocate some more resources towards this. They're going to run to the outside. I would try to get Jelani Tavai back on the line of scrimmage as much as possible instead of playing him off the ball. You're going to need him as an edge setter. It's a big game for a guy like Anthony Jennings. I think he's an important player in this game. And you just set the edge and you take 2 or 3 yard gains in the run game. It's almost like containing a guy like Lamar Jackson in the pocket where you don't need to sack him. That's actually maybe counterintuitive. Like if you can sack him, great, but it's really not worth blowing contain. This is a game to me where it's like if you're holding them to 3 yards per carry, but it's really 3 yards per carry, you're in good shape. You're keeping them behind the sticks, especially with Brock Purdy versus, risking penetrating too much. And you get in the backfield, you maybe make a stop, but that's how you create those lanes, those cutback lanes that this offense feeds on.
I wonder if they break out, it's that infamous Super Bowl 53 against the Rams where they're playing like 5 or 6 guys like on the line of scrimmage to really cave in those edges and stop. That was McVay, kind of similar back when he was running those wide zone schemes. So I wonder if that's part of their game plan there to try and slow down those outside rushes. But that's where you kind of have to start. And then it's the ball's in Brock Purdy's hands. Where are you on the Brock Purdy meter? Are you a hater like Evan is, or are you respecting Brock Purdy analyst over here?
Well, Evan needs somebody to blame for Kyle Shanahan being fraudulent when it comes to game management. Basically. I mean, look, I don't think Brock Purdy's a great quarterback. I think Brock Purdy's a great example of what happens when you put a quarterback in the right situation. You guys have heard me say the spiel all the time where it's like, when we talk about quarterbacks in the draft, it's nature and nurture. The guy's defined as much by his situation as he is by his own skills. And I'll say there are good prospects that have gone to bad situations and become bad players. And there's even bad prospects that have gone to good situations and become good players. Brock Purdy was not a good prospect. Brock Purdy was not really the kind of guy you look for when you're drafting an NFL quarterback, when you're trying to build a team around a guy. I mean, I get why he's in the league. He's a veteran. He had a lot of experience, but you look at him as kind of like a Chase Daniel type. But he went to a really good environment where he had a ton of talent around him. He had an opportunity to learn, and look at what happened. So that's kind of where I'm at with Brock Purdy. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. He was a bad prospect, but I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I don't think he would be this, like he was an MVP candidate last year. He's not doing that most other places. He's getting a lot of help from who's around him. And that's not even a knock on him. Like, good for him for making the most of the opportunity. But yeah, I'm not under the illusions that he could just like go anywhere and light it up. But I also don't think he's some scrub either. I don't think he's entirely replaceable. The Niners just did a good job and when I say that, could they replace him? Maybe if they drafted a guy and gave it a year or two and got him ready. Like, yeah, because they have this setup. But I don't like, if you drop Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi in there, right? They're going to look better than they did in New England, but maybe not as good as Purdy because he just kind of has he's gotten comfortable in that offense and more familiar with it, and that's helped his game.
They got to pay him what, next year or next offseason?
Next year, yeah. So that will be interesting to see what they do,
how they handle that.
Yeah,
they can trade for JJ McCarthy when the Vikings re-sign Sam Darnold because that's going so well.
Or they can draft Dylan Gabriel in the 6th round and get themselves lefty Brock Purdy. Yeah.
There you go. But yeah, I mean, he obviously went to a really great situation, right? Like there's tons of talent there and Shanahan is a great offensive play caller in mind, but I think he should get a lot of credit for what he's done since, getting there. He's very accurate. What's very impressive, like the stuff he does with his feet, like escaping the pocket, throws on the run, which Patriots like have had issues with that. Now, maybe that's something where, they've had issues losing contain, but I don't know. Would you take it when they're down all these skill players? Like if he's trying to play some of that hero ball and maybe you could bait him into a turnover or two, because I'd imagine if they want to be competitive in this game, you're going to need a turnover or two, right? To try to stay in this. So
yeah, that's what you want to do if you're the Patriots. Shut the run game down and make Brock Purdy beat you, because usually doing that doesn't work because it's not Brock Purdy you're given the opportunity to beat you. It's Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Kittle, McCaffrey, yada, 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 right? Now there's a little more on Brock Purdy's shoulders, and I think you test that. If you lose because Brock Purdy threw for 350 yards, tip your cap, right? If you lose because you let Jordan Mason run all over you and Trent Williams like plow the way, well, what did you think was going to happen?
Yeah, that's how they want to beat you. So don't lose that way. So yeah, how are you defending this? Because Brandon Ayuk's in. It's been a slow start for him, but he's
Drop
in.
Ayuk over here.
Yeah, seriously. That hold in or hold out or whatever it was, catching up to him. But Deebo, I thought his original timeline was like 3 weeks, and now he's back limited today with a calf injury. He didn't practice yesterday, so he's maybe on the radar now. And then Juwan Jennings has like the greatest game ever last week, filling in for him. And he's one of these bigger receivers, right? More physical guys who has given New England's corners, like smaller group of corners, some issues early on here. So how are you kind of matching up the Patriots personnel? Are you sticking Gonzalez shadowing someone? Or, we heard them speak very highly of Juwan Jennings today. Are you maybe just saying, okay, Gonzalez can take a side, see who's out there? Like, how are you kind of mixing and matching this cornerback room to match up with them?
Jennings does worry me a little bit. I think you're going to put Gonzalez on Ayuk and he's going to shadow him. And we'll see if Deebo plays. I'm not expecting him to play. If he does, I think he's a decoy. You put Jonathan Jones on him and that's what that is. But Juwan Jennings does worry me because we talked about this with the Jets game. Like the Patriots had a lot of trouble with these bigger receivers. What's the matchup? Alex Austin's hurt. He hasn't practiced this week. Do you go with Marco Wilson, who struggled? The other thing is Wilson doesn't have as much experience in the slot. Juwan Jennings is going to place him in the slot. This, to me, would be a great opportunity to elevate Isaiah Bolden.
Yes.
And play him in this game. I think he's a good matchup piece against a guy like Juwan Jennings, who's a little bigger and moves around and plays different positions because it's kind of what Isaiah Bolden does. So that's how I'd match that up. I don't know what you're doing at tight end. You probably put one of the safeties on Kittle if he's healthy. I don't think you're going to put Raekwon McMillan in coverage on him. And the big one to me is what do you do with Juwan Jennings?
Yep. I would love Isaiah Bolden. I'd love them to bring up Isaiah Bolden because I've wanted them. I get it for them going Marco Wilson. He had a good camp. He was in that number 3 kind of corner role on the boundary in camp. That didn't work. And then you try Alex Austin for the size that, he gave up the touchdown and now he's hurt. Like I would love to see Bolden in that role. Just the size and speed, athleticism is so intriguing, and he can play the slot, right? He played a lot of slot this summer. He played that in college, so he's comfortable in there. Or they have Marcellus Dial, but who's kind of a bigger guy too, but not as big as Bolden. But he kind of struggled a lot in the preseason, so wonder if they're kind of reluctant to go there. So I would love Bolden. I think that'd be a good practice squad elevation, and see what he can give you against that bigger kind of Juwan Jennings there. So we'll see what they do there. So that's the corners. Stop the run. Anything else like slowing down this Niners offense, or anything you're looking at on the defense there?
I think that's pretty much it.
Just be trailing.
I'm more interested in the matchup the other way. Yeah, just be within 14 late in the third quarter and let Kyle Shanahan go to work.
Let him cook. All right. So before we hit special teams, just any other things? Offense, defense, last thoughts? I think that's most of it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So I don't know. Even special teams, like Joey Sly has been good. Probably not kicking field goals to beat the 49ers though. So yeah, just any notes on that special teams unit this week?
Bryce Baringer is going to give you opportunities to flip the field. I don't know if you saw, Brian, his Madden rating went up 2 this week. It's up to
Did it
75.
really? Let's go.
Yeah.
He got the face scan too a few weeks ago. Some respect.
2 weeks in a row, though, there's been a big Bryce Baringer punt that they failed to cover, and it allowed a big return. And that happened last week. First punt of the second half when the Patriots were still realistically in the game, even if it didn't feel like it. Field position is going to be everything in this game. You get an opportunity to flip the field, you got to get down there and make the tackle. And some people may say Bryce Baringer is out kicking his coverage. You kind of got to let him just boom it right now and figure out ways to make plays down the field. I don't think you want him taking anything off the ball. It's not worth sacrificing the field position.
Yep. And someone asked, are they going to tweak the kickoff? It hasn't had the desired effect, as you say, Diego, but Sprainer mentioned in the summer, like through week 4. So I'm guessing at this point, if we haven't heard about it, they're not going to tweak it, and they're just going to keep the touchback to the 30, which kind of stinks because we haven't got any kick returns, but seems like that's the way they're kind of trending there. So field position will be important because they're going to Patriots will try to kind of run the ball, control the clock, and that's how they're going to try to win this game. That's their identity, like it or not, probably until we get Drake May in there, and then we can get a little bit more exciting with things. So that's it. We can do our prize picks of the week very quickly. Do you want to do some college football before we do that?
We can do college football. Yeah, we talked about this game tonight. Big game.
All right. And
Northeast Powers, Army and Temple.
If anyone wants to go to some live football this weekend, or if anyone's looking for some last minute tickets down in New York tonight, make sure you check out Game Time, which has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier, because Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Patriots again on the road this week, way out there in Cali, but if you are going, or you want to go next week when they're back home against Miami, maybe Drake May's debut, make sure you check out Game Time for your tickets and their lowest price guaranteed, and in-app features such as seat views, all-in pricing, and of course Game Time Picks, which makes it even easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, and theater tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying all your tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Good college football slate. We have, Georgia, Bama, Oklahoma State, Kansas State. There's another good ranked primetime or late night game, isn't there?
Yeah, here. I have it right here. Yeah. So we got Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, like you said.
Penn
Louisville,
State,
Notre Dame is a ranked game. That's at 3:00. Ohio State, Michigan State for the Land Grant Trophy, and Penn State, Illinois. And then actually in the late window, Utah, Arizona could be a good game too. And Boise State, Washington State. Yeah, this isn't a bad slate. Alabama, Georgia is
That's the
a 10 out of 10 game. But I would say for the week, it's like a 6, 7 out of 10 slate. Like, it's not bad. It's one of the better ones we've had so far. Well, there's like 1 or 2 good games in every window. There's one truly great game. I don't know if there's a great game besides Georgia, Alabama, right? You go ahead a couple weeks, you've got, what is it? Whatever. The slate on the 19th is just insane.
that's the one that no one wants to go to weddings on, right?
Yeah.
It's I have it right here. It's like Oklahoma State, BYU to kick it off on Friday, and then Saturday it's Michigan, Illinois, Georgia, Texas, 1-2 right now.
Alabama, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Miami,
Auburn,
Louisville.
Missouri.
That's like a de facto ACC championship.
So that's right now 2 top 5 matchups. So
yeah,
that's the week right now. But this is a good one. Definitely. I mean, Georgia, Alabama, as you said, like that's appointment television whenever those 2 teams are on. We got Will Campbell is playing South Alabama, so not a great test maybe there. And Kelvin Banks is against Mississippi State. Do they have any edge rushers? I'm gonna have to start researching these edge rushers just to realize.
No, Mississippi State kind of sucks. No major test for either of those guys this week.
Yeah,
but they're both playing.
Yeah,
I think they both have bye weeks next week.
Okay, so we're off on them a little bit. Someone said Tennessee is back. I'm in on Tennessee. I like Tennessee. I don't know about you, but Nico is awesome.
Nico's a baller.
This is so Tennessee to be like so good now, and then they'll lose to whoever they play, Georgia or Bama, late in the year, and then just fall off completely. But they have been really fun to start this year.
Yeah, see, that's why I'm hesitant, because the Hendon Hooker year, I was like, after they beat Alabama, I'm like, this team is different. Legit. I was one of the people bringing up 2019 LSU when we were talking about that team. And then obviously they just weren't. They were very good, but they weren't that team. And we'll see. The SEC is a little weaker this year than it's been in the past. That doesn't mean it's weak. There's a bunch of good teams, but like you're missing a couple powerhouses, Florida, Auburn, right? Schools like that. And it's Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia. And then I see Ole Miss. I'm not a believer in. Although, does Tennessee play Ole Miss this year? There might be
Jackson Dart, Mike's Jackson Dart. No, Tennessee has Bama. Well, first of all, they have Graham Mertz on the 12th, and then
half Graham Mertz.
Hey, he was awesome last week. Respect. And then the week after that, the 19th, they have Bama, and then 3 weeks later they have Georgia. So they have Bama and Georgia, and that's at Georgia late in November.
I was just gonna say if they had Ole Miss, that game might have 250 points. But I mean, last time they were like supposed to be this wagon of a team, they went to Georgia and couldn't handle it, couldn't crack it. So that game will be interesting. But yeah, just in terms of this week, I don't know how much there is like draft prospect wise. Arizona versus Utah is an interesting game because you have Tet McMillan going up against one of the best defenses he'll face this year. And I know at least one of Utah's corners is a projected top 100 pick. I don't know if they'll put him on McMillan. I don't know entirely how they do their matchups, things like that, but I would assume that there'll be some head-to-head snaps. So definitely, if you're somebody still who wants Patriots take a wide receiver at the top, that's a game certainly worth watching there. And there's just some good fun games this week. However you want to, whether it's for the draft or not.
Yeah, it'll be a good slate. Looking forward to it. But
yeah,
let's wrap up with our prize picks of the week. Patriots, Niners here. I mean, I like Pop. He's at 33.5 receiving yards, more or less. Or we could get the boost that we like, the demon boost, and get a little wild at 39.5.
What was that?
The demon boost is Pop Douglas 39.5 receiving yards, more than that. Do we think he can hit 40 yards?
I mean, if they're going to be a quick release offense, what's catches?
I don't know if they have catches on here. Or they even have them at 49.5 if we're getting really wild. But
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I like 39.5, more than 39.5 receiving yards, especially because they might just be down early and they might just have to throw the ball a
That's true.
lot, right? So we'll go pop more than 39.5 receiving yards. We also have, are you looking at Antonio Gibson, Hunter Henry, Jacoby, Ramondre, any player you feel out of those guys? And I can read you some of their
Well, I mean,
projection.
what do we have for Jacoby?
Jacoby's at 160.5 passing yards, more or less.
I think that might be more just because, again, if they're like behind
He's going to
early,
have to throw.
he's going to have to throw.
Okay, so we could go more on him. Stevenson is 56.5 rushing yards.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
We could go back to Joey Sly, 1.5 made field
Yeah.
goals.
Oh, yeah.
More.
Always more on Joey Sly.
But are they going to kick 2 field? Like, will it be close enough that they have to kick
That's
2 field
true.
goals? Do you think? Like, that's my
That's
only.
true.
I know we always go with the Joey Sly, but this might not be the week to do it.
Yeah, this probably isn't the week.
And then Antonio Gibson, more than 6.5 receiving yards. I mean, that's just one catch.
That's one catch. Yeah, I think we go more on that.
Okay, so we'll do all more in the passing attack.
That's scary. Hang on. Hang on. Maybe let's replace that Jacoby one. That maybe feels like do we got anything for the Niners?
Yeah, let's go to the Niners.
What do we got for Juwan Jennings? I like Juwan Jennings.
49ers. Let's see what we got here. Brock Purdy, 233.5 pass yards, 20 pass completions. Juwan Jennings, you go a touchdown. Let's see, any other Juwan Jennings here? 47.5 receiving yards.
I think more there.
You want to go more on that?
Yeah, because they don't. Who's going to cover him? I don't think the Patriots have the guy to cover him.
Yeah,
assuming Gonzalez is on Ayuk.
And he's been like down the field. He's just been unbelievable as a deep threat receiver. So we'll do that, and then we'll add our Caleb Williams free square in there. We're up to a 12-time multiplier. Is that our highest? We're trying to get the highest multiplier possible every week. So
is that what we're doing?
I think. Well, I don't know. I think we were at like 9.5 last week, so we're at 12 now. So excuse me, but our full lineup: Demario Douglas, Demon Time, getting a little wild, 39.5 receiving yards more. Antonio Gibson, 6.5 receiving yards more. They're doing the quick passing game. Those two guys should be involved. Going to San Francisco for Juwan Jennings, 47.5 receiving yards. We're going to hit more on that as well. Big body receivers. They've given New England some trouble this year. And then, of course, we're putting in our free Caleb Williams, half a passing yard square, hitting more on that. And if you use the $5 bonus, that is a $60 win. And you also get $50 instantly when you sign up on Prize Picks, of course, and use code CLNS. So we will tweet out that lineup again on Sunday. This could be the one. I'm feeling confident in this one. So make sure you check out Prize Picks and use code CLNS, of course, for the $50 instantly when you play $5. So we will wrap that up there today. Make sure you follow Alex on Twitter at RealAlexBarth. Head over to 985thesportshub.com for his Patriots written coverage over there. And you can follow me on Twitter at I am Brian Hines, and check out patspulpit.com for our Patriots coverage as well. Thank you everyone for tuning in with us tonight. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you guys next week.